Theodicy. Yeah, I want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, comments, this is still an opportunity because we're leaving that whole topic.
At our seders, we always talk about did God, in fact, harden the heart.
Somebody's telephone is still on, please. Turn it off, please.
What's written in the Torah is that God made the Pharaoh behave the way he did. But in the general discussion, it always comes around to self-determination. That God cannot command your heart or your mind because he gave us self-determination.
Okay, it came out this Shabbos. In this Shabbos in Shul, we were reading the first 7 of the 10 plagues. And the first 6, it never mentions that God hardened his heart. You know, and Pharaoh says, okay, all right, just stop it, I'll let you go. The moment it stops, he changes his mind, which is an obvious insight into human nature. When I visit somebody, God forbid, in a hospital after a heart attack, heart operation, whatever, what do people say? Rabbi, you'll see me in shul much more now. I will stop smoking. I will change my diet. Is it not true? We all know people who have been there, who say, this is it. I was shaken up, I'm going to change my life. What happens a week later? Right? The same as New Year's resolutions. Why do people break them within the first 2 weeks? Because you get emotional, this is it, 5 minutes before midnight, I'm going to lose 25 pounds, whatever it is. And, you know. Anyway, so until the 7th, it's always the Pharaoh who hardens his heart and says, get out of here now. Beginning with 7, 8, 9, 10, it says that God hardens his heart. And so this is a very serious question. Is it fair? Poor Pharaoh, he wants to let the Jews go, but God is the one who makes him stubborn and so on. And every commentator has struggled. I've said this on many occasions. If you have a problem with something in the Torah, guess what? Many generations have struggled with this already. You're not the first ones who see the light, right? So every commentator struggles with this question. Is there free will, right? We say that there is free will and therefore there was Holocaust. Every German soldier, every German person had the choice to do this or not to do this, right? By the way, it's been proven, and you can ask Professor Burke. He is also teaching a very famous class on the Holocaust. It's the largest class ever, every year at Union College. More kids take his class on Holocaust than any other class. And Holocaust is a very important topic, obviously. I am not crazy. I'm not so sure it's good if the children take only one class on Judaism. Remember, we spoke about this. Remember what Professor Emil Fackenheim says. If the only motivation for a Jewish kid not to intermarry or to stay Jewish is because they hate us, something is wrong with logic. If they hate us, if we're going to be burned, the last thing I want is to be Jewish. Let me run away. So I'm glad that there are many Holocaust courses. If you go around America, almost on every campus there is a course on Jewish studies. And what is the course about? It's about the Holocaust. So on one hand we say, remember, Zachor, Zachor, remember, don't forget. On the other hand, if this is the only information Jewish kids and Christian kids get about Jews and Judaism, I am not sure. I'm not sure we're doing service. In any case, so free will. So I mentioned, the scholars have proven, whenever people say German soldiers did not have a choice, they had to shoot. It's a lie. Apparently not one soldier was punished if the soldier turned and said to his officer, I cannot do this. I cannot shoot children. They did not punish them. They would send them to another unit. So be aware of that. And you can ask Professor Burke about this. So German people and German soldiers and members of the party, they all had a choice. We all have a choice. So how do you explain the fact that God hardened Pharaoh's heart? Well, I mentioned this on Shabbos. That's why it's not enough to come to the class. You have to come to Shabbos sometimes. It came up in our service, and there is one fascinating insight that is somehow connected to the book of John, which we devoted the entire session last week. And Sforno, medieval commentator, he says, God hardened his heart means he strengthened his resolve so Pharaoh would not give in to his fear, but make the decision out of strength. The same is basically the ending of the book of Job. We should believe in God despite, no matter what happens. Because that's what Satan is saying in the very beginning. Satan is saying to God, of course Job is very nice, because you are very nice to him. But take it away from him and you will see, he will curse you. Do you remember that? And when his wife says to him, when he's sitting in boils and the suffering, and he's crying, he's sitting in water, the wife says what?
Curse God.
Curse God and die. It's better that you should die than live like this. And what is his answer? Very important answer. Should we accept only the good and not the bad? So what he's saying is, Job, the book of Job is basically telling us that the real believer, it's children who say, no, 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 you'll get candy if you brush your teeth. Bribery is for children, but we're not children. We should not believe in God or be good Jews or giving money away, tzedakah, so everything will be wonderful. Oh, I'll write a check to the rabbi so my grandchild will be okay. Don't go there, ladies and gentlemen. That's primitive religion. That's not real religion. We should not be good, behave nicely in order to receive something. And I spoke about this. Reward and punishment does exist, but not necessarily individually. Group, yes. As a Jewish people, God promised, you will never disappear. Has he been correct or not? His loyalty has been proven. Every nation disappeared except for us. So he means it. You as a nation, I will love and I will protect and you will not disappear. Now, again, we spoke about the Holocaust 2 weeks ago. So why did he allow Auschwitz? 6 million? I always say 6 million, you lose it. But if you think about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, every third Jew in this room, that's the way to look at the Holocaust. We had approximately 18 million in 1939, and 6 were gone. So it's every third Jew. That's the way to look. Forget about 6 million. When you talk to the children, especially young people, they will not comprehend. They don't understand 1945. To them, it's civil war. It's far away.
How many Jews are we now?
Today,
14 million.
it's controversial depending on your definition, but basically people think it's close to 14 million, which means we never replenished what we lost. Now, it's also intermarriage. We're losing in intermarriage, and there's assimilation. Many people walked away after the Holocaust, especially. Yes?
Did anybody ever make a survey of the survivors to see how many remained with their faith intact?
That's an interesting one. That's a very interesting question. Has there been a study among the survivors of the Holocaust? How many of them remained Jewish? How many of them walked away? Remember, I told you about the well-known Jew here in town, Max Kaufman. Some of you remember him. He was the big photographer. He was for the celebrities and so on. So when I came to town, he ran into me and he says, Rabbi, I hear nice things about you. You will never see me in shul. I've been to Auschwitz. I lost mom, dad. And I gave him a hug. And I said, Max, who am I to tell you that you should come to shul? So it's an interesting question. Please, somebody do research. Has there been research about survivors, not about their children and grandchildren? That's a separate issue. I want to know how many of them remained good Jews, joined the shul or gave tzedakah or made aliyah and so on and so forth. That's an interesting question. About the second and third generation, John, Mary, and Daisy, they go every year to what's called the second generation. I forget. There is a big convention in Las Vegas every year. And they are talking about grandchildren. There is psychological damage to the grandchildren who remember grandpa with a number and so on. It's fascinating research about that. And John and Daisy always go there and they come back and they always share. We went to this session, we went to that session, and every year there is a new session. There is a new development psychologically and so on. So it's an interesting question. All right, I want to go, yes?
I just want to ask you a question. We're talking about Jews remaining as a people. And why do we pray for ourselves?
When? When do we pray?
When I pray, I say I pray my children are healthy and my grandchildren are healthy, and yet it's not a personal God, it's a God for the people.
No. You may pray for yourself and for your children. He is a personal God. Remember, we spoke. He knows your pain. He cares about your pain. Where was God during the Holocaust? What's the answer? Where was he? He was right there. He was in Auschwitz. He was with us. He was crying, suffering together with you. He couldn't stop it because, again, we spoke about this. Why? It's man-made. So if he had to stop it, then by definition, we would stop being human beings. Because the definition, the main difference between us and animals is not brilliance. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think that people are much more brilliant than monkeys or dogs and so on, I don't know where you've been living. I have met a lot of stupid Jews. By the way, I also don't like the statement, the Yiddish cup. The Yiddish cup. You know that expression? Everybody knows that expression? Somebody just yesterday told me, oh, Jews, they're smart. This is a gentle speaking. Saying, yeah, I was in Dominican Republic, this woman tells me, and the Jews were the most successful. Well, leave it to the Jews. She knows I'm a rabbi, I'm a Jew, and she thinks it's a compliment. I get a little bit, I'm uncomfortable. Are you happy when a gentle says, oh, you Jews, you're very smart?
We are.
Okay, so she says we are, and I say, wake up. Ruth, wake up. We are not the smartest people. That's something else. I understand why we're successful. But be careful when somebody says, both Gentiles and Jews, when they say this. I don't like that. Because what do we say? Oh, what? First of all, it's stereotypical, stereotype already, right away. And, we are so smart. First of all, there are lots of stupid Jews. I'm sure you've met a couple, right? And when Gentiles say, oh, Jews, they're the smartest, it depends, of course. If there is a hint of anti-Semitism, watch out, of course.
So we do have an edge, by the way.
In what way?
God told us to read the Torah. In order to read the Torah, you had to learn to read.
Now we're talking. It's because of our history, we stressed education thousands of years before anybody was talking about education. We could read, your Baba and Zayda could read and write and read serious books and so on when their Polish and Ukrainian neighbors could not sign their name. So So there is a reason why we were more successful and why we accomplished a lot and so on. Also, as we just heard, because we were oppressed and kicked from every place, we realized money can save my life, can save my children. So money became the only source. You did not have a government who will protect you. You did not have the army. You did not have a country. So money became important. So when Shylock is portrayed in such a disgusting way. What is your name again? Yeah. Nora is from Argentina, right? And I mentioned last week that Cristina Kirchner, the previous president of Argentina, in the summer walked into the classroom at such a middle school. And they were reading Shakespeare. Who knows, maybe Romeo and Juliet. She interrupted the class. And she said, yeah, I'm glad that you're studying Shakespeare. But this is not the book that you should be studying. Which book did she want children to study? Merchant of Venice. Because, and then she says, she ended one line. She says, then you will understand who is controlling the world. You know that she began to become very, very openly anti-Semitic after the murder of, Faith knows more about this, right? Nisman, Alberta Nisman. Remember the murder? By the way, there is a new president who is a mensch and who reopened the investigation. So we shall see the end to that. Nisman, remember? Yeah. So he was murdered. Most Argentinian, remember I came back from Argentina, I reported to you. I said, most Argentinian people say he was killed, and most Argentinian people said we will never find out the truth. That's the Argentinian approach to their government. So Cristina began to say horrible things, kind of innuendo. You know why? Because there was a, what's his name? There is a fund, hedge fund that basically, she borrowed a lot from Singer, his name, I forget. There was a Jewish fund manager. Argentina borrowed billions from them. And he began to demand, give us back, and they're broke. The government is broke. So she began to say, basically, it's the Jewish conspiracy. It's the international Jewish conspiracy. It's like, you know, we know what it smells of. All right. So I hope that you understand. Who asked this? Okay. Marty, you asked a question that is a good question. Is it fair to the Pharaoh? Is it fair that he lost his son? Is it fair to all the Egyptian people that they lost their firstborn sons? Because it's God who hardened his heart. At least one interpretation that I like, it speaks to me, is that God hardened his heart does not mean that he became more powerful, more stubborn against the Jews. He hardened his heart so the Pharaoh will not make a decision based on fear, because that's not real decision. You see, again, the point is, God wants us to make decisions out of free will. You should be able to make a decision not because there is a knife coming to your head. Because if somebody comes to you and says, do you believe in God? Of course, sure, I will believe. That's not belief. Under the knife, we'll say all kinds of things. God wants the Pharaoh to come to this decision by himself, because finally he will get it. Finally he will say, you know what? Maybe there is one God. Remember, this is a revolution that we spoke about, ethical monotheism. Pharaoh was considered God in Egypt. The Nile, the river, was considered God. There were many gods. All kinds of rocks were gods and so on. Judaism is a revolution. All right. I want to conclude now, Job. I know some of you were not here last week. But if you remember, Victor Hugo said, if we have to leave as an inheritance to the future generations one book that has ever been written, it should be the book of Job. This is Victor Hugo. Carl Jung, one of the great psychologists of the 20th century, was furious with this book. Dostoevsky said God and Satan are playing with our souls. This is horrible. The rabbis in the Talmud were not very happy with this book. So there is one rabbi who says, no, Job never existed. It is a metaphor. Of course there would not be such a book that allows God to make some deals with the Satan. So even the rabbis were uncomfortable. So I know that some of you say it's an important book. I know Faith taught this book, right? You tried to teach it. I never taught this book, but I felt it was important because it's connected to what Ecclesiastes says. He says if there is no reward and punishment, if good people get killed, if young babies, if good, religious, observant people get killed, so what's the point of it, and so on. And we'll come to this in a minute. What is his solution? I don't like this book because you and I know the answer. We know the beginning. We know about the Satan and God talking, but poor Job does not know. So when he throughout the book keeps saying, why is this happening? It's I just want to jump and say, Job, we know the answer. It's not your fault, and so on. But listen to this. Remember Simone Weil? I mentioned to you a few weeks ago. She's a poetess, a writer, a French writer. She's the one who says, if you want to know your nature, your fundamental nature, think about the dreams that you dream. Are they about giving charity? Are they about feeding sick children? Do you remember that? It's an interesting insight. What do we dream about? How many of you dreamt last night about going out to Tamarind Avenue and feeding hungry people? We dream about other things. That's the reason Freud devoted so much time to the dreams. Because dreams show you who you really are. It's subconscious. Because we know how to subdue it, to cover it up. But if you want to know what's inside of you, look into your dreams. That's now again, Freud is not accepted today. A lot of psychologists think that a lot of this was nonsense. But the fact is that some of it was powerful stuff. He created the whole field. So Simone Weil, the same woman who says, look into your dreams, she said an interesting line. She had a good line. It is impossible to love without trembling and suffering. She says, if you want to be in love, be prepared to suffer. And then she continues. Job loved his life. He loved his children. He loved his family. And that's why he is suffering. So it's an interesting twist. If you don't want to take chances with suffering, don't fall in love. She was a big romantic. William Butler Yeats. Did you study this? Yeah, I never studied Yeats. Yeah? Listen to this. If suffering brings wisdom, I would like to be less wise. Is it not true? A lot of people say, yeah, you know what? But if you don't suffer, you don't learn. Suffering, this is what experience teaches you, and so on and so forth. So first of all, you can say, you know what? A little bit suffering, maybe. But this kind of suffering, thank you very much. I don't need to be to have more wisdom. And so on. So it should not be excessive. And then I mentioned to you another great line. That's the last line of Goethe. I know God will forgive me. This is his job. His job. It's a play of words. And finally, Robert Frost. I love this line. Do you like Robert Frost? Everybody knows about The Road Not Taken, but there are many poems that are much more powerful. I, last year, kind of began to look into Frost. It's powerful stuff. Listen to this. Forgive, O Lord, my little jokes on thee, and I'll forgive thy great big joke on me. I'll read it again. It's a powerful line. Forgive, O Lord, my little jokes on thee, and I'll forgive thy great big joke on me. So, why are we suffering? You know, somebody else says, the tree of knowledge, right? Adam wanted knowledge. So did we gain any knowledge? Only punishment. What did he learn? Adam, by eating that fruit, did he gain? That was the tree of knowledge, right? Don't touch that, don't eat that fruit because you will become knowledgeable. You will know. Well, what's the answer? What's the ending of the book of Job? We're still with Job. I want to kind of put it all together. What's the answer? When Job keeps asking, why, what's the answer? The answer? Because, exactly. Shut up, he says to Job. Where were you when I created the mountains and the planets? Can you take a bird and make her fly? I am God and you are man, and that's the answer. There is a limit. There is a huge difference between us, and that's basically what Ecclesiastes keeps coming back to. Remember about wisdom. One of his passions was wisdom. He was trying to become wiser. If I'm only getting deeper and deeper, maybe I will understand. And you will see in a minute, at the end of chapter 8, basically he says there is no way. So, what's the theme of this book? Relationship with God. As long as you have a relationship, you see, this is the difference between the Holocaust and Job. Job at least hears the voice of God at the very end. He suffered a lot. First of all, he gets rewarded at the end, which I have problems with. Remember, he lost 10 children, he gets 10 children. And the girls are the most beautiful girls in the land. Give me a break. Don't give me the beauties. Give me back my children, right?
He doesn't say that, though.
What?
He accepts what God gives him.
He does. I don't like it. Do you like it?
No.
Just because, God forbid, just because you get another child does not make your pain less.
I would say he was grateful.
So he basically says, I'm humble. Who am I? I say, I cover my mouth. He accepts the answer. He says, who am I to challenge you? And so on. I asked for too much. So basically, no, but this is also an interesting line. Professor Moshe Greenberg, Zichrono Livracha, I had a little bit of a relationship with him, professor at Hebrew U. He says, at some level, it is healthy for a person's spiritual well-being to know that his or her devotion to God is disinterested, and therefore the logic of God's acquiescence to Satan's test. What he is saying is, it may be problematic that God made a deal with Satan, but you know what? It is good for you to test yourself. Do you go to shul because you're getting to get something from this? Are you still observant in any way? Why do you go to Yom Kippur? Or ask any Jew, why are you still connected? Is it an interest? Is it profit? Is it reward? What Professor Greenberg says, no, this is not real faith. The real faith is to believe in God, to love God, to pray to God, despite ups and downs in life. Because then we become children. Oh, I didn't get my candy. I will burn the house now. Okay? Now, he also says, without the prologue, without the introduction, the Satan speaking to God, we would lack the essential knowledge. That's a very important point. And therefore, Job's insistence, screaming, I'm innocent, he says that's not arrogance. He has the right, because he does not know the answer. All right. He does not know the beginning. All right. I want us to move on. We obviously will come back to Job again and again, but basically this is the most kind of focused moment when he talks about that it's not fair. Life is not fair. We're going back to to 15 now. Verse 15, chapter 8. So he says, I say all this is frustration. It's not right. It's not right. An upright man is requited according to the conduct of the scoundrel. Do you see where I am? Do you see with 9? You have 9 right in the middle of the page. We just finished 14, and therefore we're going to a new topic. 15, verse 15, come on. 8, 15. Everybody's with me. I therefore praise the... Does everybody know where we are? Chapter 8, verse 15. I therefore praise the enjoyment, simcha. For the only good a man can have under the sun is to eat and drink and enjoy himself. That much can accompany him in exchange for his wealth through the days of life that God has granted him under the sun. Eat, drink, and be merry. What is it called, this philosophy? Hedonism. Hedonism. Hedonism is the opposite of Judaism. That's why this verse is probably the most controversial verse in the entire Jewish philosophy. And he repeats it 5 times. We saw it in chapter 2, in chapter 3, and in chapter 5. Yes, comments?
Yeah. It can be looked upon as hedonism out of context, but Yehuda HaLevi made it clear to us that it is incumbent upon the Jew to enjoy his life.
Oh, that's something else. Oh, well, definitely, definitely. We have to be careful. And we'll talk about this. And he will prove that, what's the opposite of hedonism? Do you know that word? You all know this? What is asceticism? Who is an ascetic? Deprivation. What's the perfect example today? Who believes in this? Mother Teresa is the most famous one. She owned 2 dresses all her life, and she lived on water and bread and maybe sometimes butter or something on this. And you have a whole movement. The monks and the nuns and so on, they take a vow of, is this Jewish? Oh, I think Bert wants to take the vow of poverty. How many restaurants? I'm kidding. He likes, yeah, I think Bert, you like this philosophy. We were traveling in Europe together many years ago. And the very first day, I say, we're going to have a dinner in a kosher restaurant. Bert opens a little book and says, Rabbi, we brought a book. This is the best restaurants in Europe. And there are 4 restaurants we have to go. So forgive us, we're not going to join them. I said, are you kidding? So anyway, they actually went with us to the kosher restaurant, and both of them said, that's actually very nice, right? We enjoyed it. Anyway, I hope I'm not embarrassing you. I think people who know this lovely couple, they appreciate good food. And you know what? This, okay, again, I have to be careful. Philosophically, eat, drink, and be merry is a Greek philosophy, and it's not very Jewish. We're supposed to have a life of meaning, and a life of giving, and tzedakah, and so on. However, that's the point. Judaism never believed in asceticism. This is against Judaism. Judaism says, gesundheit. You like food, go for it. You like good wine, no problem. You like money. By the way, this is another thing. You have to be careful. Jesus never said What's the famous line about money that a lot of people mistakenly quote? Money is the root of all evil. He never said that. What did he say? The love of money is the root of all evil. And that's a big difference. That's a big difference. Seneca, I have a quote by Seneca who says, "It's not the man who has little who is poor, but the man who craves more." Do you see the difference? He's poor. So money is fine, as long as you're not obsessed with money. As long as this is not the end, this is a means to some other end. That's okay. One of the 10 Commandments, Shabbat, it says, Sheshet Yamim Ta'avod. You should not be sitting on the beach. Work. Work hard. 6 days a week. Go. Work. Continue. That's why we accomplish so much, wherever we are. Give us a chance. Look what's going on with Israel. Israel is one of the best economies on this planet. They're growing by 3.5%, 4%. Our economy this year, they're predicting maybe 1%. Look what China is going down. So work is very important. Accomplish. Build beautiful homes in Palm Beach. There is no problem with it, as long as that's not the end, the goal. So we are not ascetics, ladies and gentlemen. Don't buy into this. Don't believe. In fact, the rabbis say there is a maximum how much tzedakah you should be giving. You are not allowed to give more than, I think, 25%. I have somebody in this town who always meets me and she says, I give 30% away. I say, be careful, you may be breaking a Jewish law. But you understand, there is a famous law in the Torah. You know Samson, right? Samson and Delilah. Who was he, Samson?
Nazarite.
A Nazarite. Do you know that title? Somebody who is not a Cohen. No, if you're born Cohen, you're Cohen. You have to work for God. But I'm not a Cohen. But I get inspired. I want to work for God. I want to devote my life to God. This is called Nazarite, Nazir. So Samson's mom, you remember the story, right? She pledged. She said she couldn't have babies. So she says, if I get a baby, I will dedicate him to God. So that's how Samson becomes a Nazarite. Anyway, in the Torah, we have an amazing law. And Nazarite is not supposed to commit himself forever. You say, you know what? For the next 6 months, I'm going to be a Nazir. What are you supposed to do? Anybody knows? How do you become a Nazir? No drinking, no alcohol. What else? And no cutting your hair, and no any other major pleasures like that, right? So you become like a monk for 6 months. Oh, for a year. After 6 months, or after 1 year, what's the first thing you do? You say, enough, I did it. You know what you do? Anybody knows? You bring a sacrifice of guilt. A guilt sacrifice to God. So every commentator says, what? What a mensch. Devoted for 6 months, for a year, he became Mother Teresa. You should give him a medal. No. No. He is guilty of doing something that God does not want us to do, which is
extremes.
Have fun. Enjoy life. Eat, drink, and be merry. So I want to make it very clear. Hedonism, who said the faith? You're right. Hedonism is not totally against Judaism. As long as, again, there are limitations. You don't step on people's lives. You don't take advantage of others, and so on. And so, but still, this is very controversial. This is one of the phrases that basically some people, some rabbis said this book does not belong here. I spoke to my friend Rabbi Joseph Telushkin. He says, I don't know. You love that book. I don't like this book. It's not very Jewish. I love this book. I think that it's so rich. You know why? Because it's not black and white. You all know what makes a good novel. What makes a good movie. It's not black and white. These are the good guys and this is a bad guy. And no, I don't like it. That's why Star Wars does not move me really. It's like they were killing each other. Evil, pure evil, and the evil has to be in black. By the way, you know that there was some controversy. Why is he black? There is some controversy that evil should not be black anymore. You see, this is extremes. This is when we begin politically correct even in movies. It's like, enough already. Anyway, but the point is, I love this book because it is subtle. Because he contradicts himself sometimes. You'll see in a minute. He says a line that goes against everything that he said until now. And we had an interesting movie here on Sunday that was like, wow. Yes, Floyd, you had a question.
Now, are you saying people like Buffett and Gates who take the bulk of their money and give it so that mankind can benefit are doing the wrong thing?
Are they doing the wrong thing?
Well, you just said
No. Bill Gates and people like that, like you brought up. Apparently, what's his name? Donald was asked, would you give half of your money away? He said no. So, you know what? It's his money. He wants to do whatever he wants. But Bill Gates is not doing the wrong thing. Because the fact is, ladies and gentlemen, no. Let's say he gives 99% of his money away. Let me ask you a question. Is it going to make any difference in his lifestyle? That's the point. That's the point. There are people who, and I know I may be touching a nerve here. There are people in Jewish life, all research has shown, who don't know how to give. And the reason is because they lived as children, they remember the Depression times. And so we have famous cases. A person may have $17 million in the bank, but he drives a Chevy that is 22 years old. It's not funny. Do you remember in Baltimore, what was his name? A very famous philanthropist. What's his name? Weinberg. People felt sorry for this guy. He had one jacket and one coat. He was always wearing this coat that was falling apart. And he drove a very old Chevy. When he died, they discovered that he left something like $14 million to the hospitals, to Israel, and so on. He had $14 million in the bank, but he could not afford to buy another jacket. He felt, you know, and there are many people like that. And in Jewish life, it's very famous. There have been research federations know about this. There are ladies in Palm Beach who sit on millions and millions, but when you call them and you ask for $300 for the federation, no! You know,
It's not called stingy or cheap.
It's psychological sickness.
Yes.
It's a sickness. It's a psychological sickness. They need help, these people. Because the fact is, I think I told you a few years ago, the Federation gave me a bunch of cards. You know, there is a Super Sunday at the Federation. So they gave me a bunch of your cards. And I said, you know what, I don't want to call my congregants. But I am willing to spend 2 hours, whatever, 3 hours. You volunteer for those hours. But give me only the zeros. People who have given 0 last year, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, 5 years ago, they say, Rabbi, why do you want to waste your time? Because your name, your voice may help us. If you call somebody who gave 10,000, maybe they will give 20. I said, no. I want to understand a Jew who does not want to give $10 to the Jewish people. I spent 2.5 hours, and people surrounded, you know, the Federation, and they were like feeling sorry for me or laughing. we told you, they were all walking around. Well, have you been successful? And I was successful. One lady who never gave 0 last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago, she says, okay, after 15 minutes of talking to me, she was willing to give $100. And this lady lives in Palm Beach. So it's not that she's poor. But I am fascinated by people who, and I ask them very direct questions. I say, hello, Mrs. Schwartz, I'm calling you from the Federation. We're calling all the Jewish people to basically asking to give something for the future of Jewish people, for the soldiers wounded in Israel and so on. Would you give $50? No! One after another, like this. And I don't know. I was sad. I have to admit, I was sad. But I had some successes, and so well, the Federation was happy. All right, let's go back to hedonism. It comes from hedonismus, which means delight. It's basically saying pleasure is the most intrinsic good. That's hedonism. It started way before the Greeks, actually. Basically, they say maximize net pleasure. Meaning what? Pleasure minus pain equals maximum. So minimize pain includes pleasure, right? Increased pleasure. It started actually in Babylonian famous epic of Gilgamesh. This is the first, one of the classics of human history, of human literature. This is how it goes. Fill your belly, day and night make merry. Let your days be full of joy. Dance and make music day and night. These things alone are the concern of man. Gilgamesh, this is older than the Torah. Egyptian tombs, we know, you've gone to the museums, Assyrian tombs, you see harpists, you see naked girls dancing there, music, wine, and so on. We all know that it's a very popular thing. But it was developed primarily in 4th century before Common Era, Greek philosophy, and it was called Cyreniac school, from Cyrene, Aristippus. I read about this. I did not know Aristippus, so don't be impressed. I just read a little bit about it to understand, because some scholars believe that Ecclesiastes was very influenced by Greek philosophy. And so that's why they think that Ecclesiastes could not have been King Solomon. He lived during the time of Greece. So basically, it's one of the earliest Socratic schools of philosophy. They say the only intrinsic good is pleasure. And pleasure is not absence of pain. It is actually sensations, enjoyable sensations. They go one step further. So you will understand that hedonism is not Jewish, because they go one step further. They say momentary pleasures, especially physical ones, are stronger than those of anticipation or memory. Don't worry about the memory. You don't remember that last night was an amazing meal. And you have no enjoyment knowing that next Tuesday you will go to an amazing banquet. But right now, enjoy this moment, because it disappears. That's what hedonism means. It's not just, I don't want to have pain. No, I am seeking, I am trying to find pleasure momentary, right now. I don't know what happened. I don't remember that I had this and that and that, right? And we spoke about this last year, when I spoke to you about the difference that psychologists tell us, the difference between fun and happiness. Do you remember that? A lot of people in America are totally confused. They say, if I collect fun experiences, I will be happy. So if I go to a banquet every night, if I drink the best cognac every day, if I have sex with 25 people every night, whatever. maybe 25 is exaggeration. Can you have 25 steaks every night? Americans are confused. Fun, it's been proven by psychologists, by scientists, by specialists. Fun and happiness no connection whatsoever. People who have more fun can be the most miserable people in the world. And people who are very happy may not have fun. Do you understand? This is so crucial. That's why America is totally confused. That's why our young people are so confused. That's why our government is confused. I mean, you really have to understand that distinction. By collecting more and more fun experiences, you do not increase your happiness by one iota. And my friend Dennis Prager makes I think, a brilliant comparison. Roller coasters. I remember I took my kids. Micha did not like roller coasters. His stomach was turning upside down. Liat loves roller coasters. So wherever we went, in California, in Israel, in Orlando, whatever it is, she always wanted to go to the top. The worst, like the most frightening one. And she was 5, 6, 7, whatever, they allowed the child to go there. And it was interesting because I wanted to test Dennis's theory. So I would say, Liat, there is a line here for 45 minutes. Here there is 10 minutes line, so it's not the toughest one. But let's go here. No, no, no. She wanted to go to the top. This is one, Papa, you don't understand. This is the one. All my friends tell me this is the one. So we wait for 45 minutes, and finally, we go on this one. I did not go. I don't like this stuff. By the way, I don't like horror movies either. I don't understand the excitement. What's the attraction? Then I cannot sleep at night. Something is moving, suddenly you hear noise in your bedroom and you say, I don't get it. But people like fun. In America, I mean, to be honest, I don't like the typical American movies either. Explosions and shootings, what's so exciting about it? You waste 2 hours and you walk out. What was the point? So you come out, what was it? Well, oh, it was fun. So we go, she goes to this amazing, she comes out, how was it? Amazing, amazing, I want to do it again. So again we wait for 45. Anyway, the point is, every time you have it, the moment it's over, you need it again. You need it again. And then it's not exciting anymore. I hear that over there in New Jersey, there is a bigger one. It goes 3 times upside down. Wow. So it becomes an obsession. You never have the best cognac in the world. You never have the best sex in the world. You never have the best steak. The steak that was yesterday was the best, but today you need a better steak. Fun never stops. And the opposite of happiness is happening because you're searching. You're searching. Where is the excitement? Where is the next excitement? Happiness has nothing to do with that. In fact, happiness usually, what do we get happiness from? It's usually, you have to invest something in that project. You write a book, you work, you put together an event, you work hard. That's when you see, or children, God forbid. What's the most pleasurable thing? What brings you the most happiness in life? Children. What's the toughest thing in life? Children. So that's the point. If you understand that fun, pleasure, and happiness, they don't have any connection. Some of the happiest people are quadriplegic and so on. You know, Steve Hawkins is apparently a very happy man. You saw that movie, right? Steve Hawkins, the famous physicist. Last week the movie got an Oscar, right? You know, women were falling in love with him. Remember? He's very funny. He cannot talk. He cannot move. He's like this. Ugly face. But that woman, the nurse, falls in love with him. It's just incredible. And I remember I was asking women, what is it? How is it possible that this woman is falling in love with him? By the way, while he is married to another woman who is very pretty, right? So people say, well, because of his personality. He was a happy guy. A guy who cannot open his mouth, cannot say one word, cannot take 2 steps. And yet he is one of the happy people. And you all remember Andrew Mary. We buried him less than a year ago. You remember? Many of you were there at the funeral. What I said at the funeral, I will never forget in my life. This is a guy who at the age of 20 is given a year and a half to live. And basically, for the next 22 years, he was constantly in pain. It's a horrible, horrible pain. I remember at some point, it was literally non-stop. So when he finished one candy, whatever it's called, lollipop, he immediately needed to put another one. Remember that? He was constantly moving because the moment and this was the strongest codeine in the world. Morphine, codeine, it's a combination of the strongest drugs. He could not survive for 2 minutes, the pain, without those candy, lollipops. So about 5 years ago, I'm giving a sermon on Yom Kippur, and I basically spoke about, can you really be happy? What's happiness? And I said, look, the richest people in the world are not happy. You know, I know a couple of billionaires who, when the market crashed, they were depressed. So he lost $250 million, but he still has a few billion. No, but he was depressed, this person, and so on. You think Bill Gates is happy? You think Steve Jobs was happy, and so on? Steve Jobs was a miserable human being. Anyway, and then they say, look at Hollywood. The famous personality, they have fame, they have money, they have luxury, they fly their own jets. They're not happy. Nobody is happy. That's my line. And suddenly, Andrew Mary turns to his father and says, I am happy. The person who is in pain 24 hours a day is happy. But movie stars are not happy. So and yet everybody wants to be a movie star. Isn't it interesting? Everybody is striving to end up where Lawrence, what's her name now? Jennifer Lawrence. It's amazing. It's an amazing story. She's 25 years old. 2 Oscars and $40 million per movie. More than anybody in America, in the world. It's an amazing story. Do you think she's happy? I don't know. I don't know. But you would think it's an incredible success story. But I can list probably, I can guess, 5 fears that she do not allow her to sleep at night. You can come up with the first one right away. You tell me. What?
People only like a place.
No, well, that's true. It's very difficult for her to date because does he really love me, or he loves who I am, my name, but I would see even on a very basic level. If I'm at 25 over here, where do you go from now? What's the future? You can only go down. And we know stars like this who became very famous very early, and then nobody knows what happened to them. They disappeared. Very few actresses continue, like what's the one that we still have that she still gets? Meryl Streep. There are not too many Meryl Streeps. Or Sophia Loren did it until she was, I think, 70. By the way, she's coming to Palm Beach, I understand. What is she, 80? 81 years old. It's amazing. It's amazing. Anyway.
I go to Palm Beach and I'm 90.
What? That's true too. I'm not worried about her money, but I'm worried about her psyche, her emotional health. She probably cannot sleep at night. If I got an Oscar last year, will I get another one this year? By the way, somebody reminded me, but I saw it actually. Remember I spoke to you, Son of Saul is coming up in a couple of weeks. It got #1 prize on Sunday from the foreign journalists, what is it called? Foreign Press Association. Golden Globe. They got #1 prize for a foreign movie. Which one got the #1 prize altogether?
Creed.
Which one?
Creed.
Really? The reverence. And what is reverence about? What is it? What is it about?
Survival.
About survival.
When you shouldn't survive, you come back.
Oh, it's against all odds. Against all odds. Oh, that's right. With a beard, with a bear, something like this. And that got #1?
No, I didn't want to Steve Jobs got
The actor got #1.
The actor got #1.
No, the actors maybe. I don't know.
The movie got it.
Steve Jobs got the movie?
Go figure.
No.
Yes, he did.
I guess nobody stayed till 11 o'clock. Nobody knows the answer? Come on. Anyway, we'll find out. What?
Revenant won the Golden Globe for Best Picture.
It is the best picture.
And the actor got it.
The actor is Leonardo, right? Okay, he's a good actor. He's a great actor. But anyway, I did not see the movie, so I cannot say much. I was surprised, to be honest, because there are a couple of powerful films. Surely.
Jennifer Lawrence was in an incredible movie, her first, called Winter's Bone. And it was her acting that was so specific.
Of course, no, I'm not against any, no. She's clearly a very talented actress. I saw 2 years ago with her and her favorite co-star. What's his name? The handsome guy. Bradley Cooper. Remember, they come from a mental institution. Remember? That was a powerful, powerful performance. What is it called? Silver Lining. Playbook. Excellent. Excellent. Both of them deserve the Oscar. I think she got the Oscar for that. Anyway, she's a wonderful actress. But what I'm saying is, are you sure she's happy? So success, well, this is what he's saying. Success does not give you happiness. Money, all the money in the world does not bring you happiness. All the sex in the world does not. All the food does not. All the drink is not. All the palaces that I own does not mean much to me. What he's saying is, and that's why we have to be careful. Hedonism can go to an extreme. I want to move on. Okay, hedonism also is very skeptical about knowledge. You cannot really know anything except how you feel right now. That's what hedonism says. In many ways, this is what Ecclesiastes says. He says at the very end of chapter, let's conclude 16, 17. So at least we'll feel that we're done with chapter 8. It's good stuff, it's good stuff. But you can see that it leads us to another areas and so on.
What about the phrase, in exchange for his wealth?
Okay, he basically says, if you already have it, enjoy it. You worked hard. And he has 2 other places where you can check it out. He basically says, why did you labor? What was the point? When you die, and everybody is concerned to leave it to my children. Remember, we had a whole discussion about this. Why are you so concerned to make sure that your children get it? Do they deserve it? And what do you know? What do you think they will do with all the money? You worked 7 days a week for 40 years. Why do they get this at the age of 19 or 20 or whatever? How many kids in Palm Beach, how many people in Palm Beach walk around Palm Beach ruined by their parents? Because they created a trust fund. I had several congregants in Emmanuel who were miserable people. The guy never worked for a living in his life. He didn't have to. Is it a good idea to be 17, 18, 15, knowing that you don't need to worry for the rest of your life? I believe that this is what Bill Gates said when he announced that the majority of his money will go away. I think one of the things that he said is, my wife and I feel strongly we do not want to ruin our children. And I suspect many of you, at least the men in this room, I suspect your father said, you want your car? Go get a job. I had congregants who told me I was 16, 17, I wanted a car. My father said, okay, you'll start carrying the boxes in my factory. And a lot of Jewish people say the opposite. I had a hard life. I don't want my children to suffer. That's the worst thing you can do to your children.
Take away ambition.
Ambition, exactly. What's my ambition? Where does Jennifer Lawrence, what does she strive for? Is it possible that she will continue getting an Oscar every year? Come on. Is it possible? So she will have a couple of horrible movies, people will make fun of her, they will say, oh, look at her. She just went for the money. Yeah. So this is the issue. You kill the ambition. Why should I strive? Why should I work hard? Why should I go to college and so on and so forth? So we know many people whose lives have been ruined because of that. And Jeffrey Green is proud to say that he was washing dishes at the Breakers Hotel. He was not even a waiter. Although Barbara is not so sure. He exaggerates. He was a waiter, but he says that he was a...
Only during school vacation.
Okay. So, but he does not say I was a waiter. What does he say? What's the other job? Busboy. He is very proud to stand up and he's going to Davos tomorrow, right? Davos tomorrow? He's going to Davos tomorrow. Remember last year, Monday, he came back here and he told us about Davos. Do you remember that? That was a fabulous presentation. You know what Davos is, right? The most prestigious gathering in the world. And Jeffrey was very gracious. I asked him to speak and he came here with a book of the itinerary, of the schedule, agenda. It was amazing. The book is like this. They get together for 4 days, or 5 days. And the book was like this. He says that was the most difficult thing to do. You wake up in the morning, and at 7 in the morning, there are 15 sessions going on. Do you want to be with Bibi Netanyahu? Or you want to be with Merkel? Or you want to be with Soros? Or you want to be with Bill Gates? He told us fascinating stuff. Anyway, maybe he'll come back and tell us again. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you remember what he said was the highlight of the entire week? Anybody remembers? That's it. They had one optional session. If you would like to spend 1 day living on $1 a day. And he signed up for that. He says that was the highlight of the entire week. They literally, these billionaires, most influential, powerful people on this planet, went into the downstairs there where there was no carpet, there was no cement floor or dirt floor, and they lived like 1 billion people on this planet live. That was the most powerful experience for him. So it's like Yom Kippur, it's worse, believe me. When I tell people, oh, you cannot wait another 7 minutes, you know, at the Ne'ilah, right before the shofar, some people are, I say, listen, you've been fasting for 25 hours, you cannot wait another 7 minutes, come on. Imagine there are children who go hungry night after night after night after night after night. 1 billion human beings. And we feel sorry for ourselves on Yom Kippur. Anyway, so skeptical theory of knowledge. This is what hedonism says. We cannot know anything except what I feel right now, my sensation. And that is, so they go one step further. I'm having a sweet sensation now, but I can know nothing about the nature of the objects that cause these sensations. For example, can I say honey is sweet? Can you say, is it okay to make a generalization like this? Who says so? You say so. But for somebody, it may taste bitter or something else. And if I cannot make generalization like this, I have no idea how another person feels. So sensations is the key. We cannot know what the experience of other people are like. All we can say is my subjective feeling and so on. So it's all subjective. And past and future pleasure have no real existence for us. We spoke about this. I don't remember the steak that I ate 7 months ago. Who cares? Right now. That's hedonism. So is that what Solomon is saying to us? That's going to be the real issue. Now it's interesting that the real hedonists say that the bodily pleasures are more simple and more intense, and therefore are preferable to all the others. But Plato disagreed. So Socrates disagreed. He says, no, there are higher pleasures and lower pleasures. That was the disagreement between them. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. Then it goes into Epicureanism. Do you remember that one? Epicureanism. Epicure, right? Epicurus, also 4th century before Common Era. It's a form of hedonism with one subtle difference. What is that? Today, they're known for their food. But basically, the real Epicureanism basically says, as long as I avoid pain, I am okay. So they don't go, they don't say, let's go have fun, let's enjoy. Just avoid pain. Now, what does it mean? If you avoid pain, can you be happy if you avoid pain? Because pain is usually the price you pay. And so they believe in tranquility and absence of fear. And that's the highest pleasure. Now, and therefore, it's interesting. Today you think that it's all about food, and I know there are many specialty food stores that it's called Epicuria's or something. You remember in Miami Beach, there is a famous store. All the Jews love to go there. What is it called? Epicure. That's what it's called. It's amazing. It's a fascinating store. Very sophisticated stuff. But interestingly enough, it's the opposite of what Epicureans said, which is maybe that's why it kind of became all about food, because they said basically food should be simple to avoid dissatisfaction later. So they say, remember, the most important thing is avoid pain. So if you go for the best ice cream on this planet, you will never have that ice cream again. So you will be missing something in life. So do you understand the interesting philosophy? So don't go for amazing pleasures because you will be dissatisfied. You will be miserable afterwards. So you know what? Go for simple pleasures. In a way, it's very close to asceticism. And there was, of course, rebellion against it. So Jews obviously don't believe in that. We take food very seriously, right? Jews and food. If you don't feed them, they will not come, right? If you feed them, they will come. Oh, that's a good point. Weight Watchers, perhaps arguably the most successful weight losing technique, says only the first bite is pleasurable. After the first one, it's not a big deal. We have to stop here. Have a good day. Remember, the gala, this is the last week to sign up. Have a good day, and don't forget